Hey everybody, job for today. Right side exhaust manifold on a 96 7.3. This is the manifold. It is off the truck. As you can see, if you look at those bolt heads, there is no getting a socket on those. That one was blown out. There was no gaskets left in this. The downpipe bolts were broke off, rotted away. So as you can tell, I went in there with a torch and burned off every one of the studs. Now, I used to do a lot of these manifolds, so I've had a lot of practice with them. What I do is I don't mess around with them. You're going to break the bolts off. Most of the time, you're going to break the bolts off. So I don't even mess with them. Burn them off with a torch. Get in there with a brazing tip, a welding tip for your oxyacetylene after you burn them off. And the reason I burn them off is when you burn them off, you are still dealing with about 3/4 of an inch of bolt left over. What I do, and yes, I know my back pressure tube is broke. That was rotted away. I have one on order, so I can take care of that. But that's not a big deal. What I do to get them out is use brazing tip. The two worst ones to do is that one and that one. Okay? So it's your first one and your fifth one back on the passenger side. Reason being is you have a lot of meat around that bolt. The other ones you do not. Any of these you can get right up in those little nooks. Put some heat on them. They make kits for drilling studs out. I actually was going to buy a kit, I was going to say 8 years ago or so. They make a kit just for doing these. And to tell you the truth, I don't feel that they're worth it. I just use stud installers, stud extractors. Here are all the remains. Give me 1 second to pick them up off the floor. Now, there's one that is welded right there. Of course, I'm dropping them all over the floor. Those two I welded nuts onto. These two were number 1 and number 5. These are the two rotted off on the downpipe. And these are the rest of the exhaust manifold bolts. So what I use is a stud installer, stud remover. And it has 3 round barrels, basically 3 round pegs, and it works under eccentrics and grabs hold of the stud. I heat on this area, on these areas right here. Put my stud tool on with a 3/8 ratchet and light pressure, and she will go. I have an inductive heater. I do not like them. Inductive heaters are great for getting nuts out. They're not great for getting studs out, because what happens, studs, bolts, they're great for taking a nut off. That's about it. An inductive heater, what it does is it heats the object that goes inside. You want to heat the object that is on the outside. You want to keep the inside piece cooler than the outside piece so that it expands and it can break the seal, the rust seal. And I've also found that with if I heat the piece that I'm trying to get out, most of the time you break it off. So I heat the outer area and have at it. You know, just take your time, be patient, and you really don't have a problem with them. I'd make a video on it, but it is a very long process doing it because you have to have patience. But if you heat them outside areas, slowly work it back and forth, they come right out. If it does break off, if you have one that's broke flush, I think it's the 6.0s that has the smaller, they're 12 millimeter bolts on the 7.3s. I think the 6.0 has 12s and 110 if I remember right, or they're 10s and 1.8. I don't remember exactly. But one of them is always known to break flush. That one sometimes you have to drill out. But just to help you out on that, take your time. You don't need to spend the ungodly amounts of money for tools that really aren't going to help you out that much. You can pretty much go with what you have in your toolbox. So, alright everybody, see ya.